Welcome back everyone, I'm Plays Games, this is EVE Online once again, and today we're going to be talking all about drones. First of all, what are drones? Drones are semi-autonomous robotic vehicles that can perform a wide range of tasks, from fighting to repairing things to mining and lots of other things as well. A huge number of ships in the game have the ability to use at least some drones. You can check if any given ship has the ability to use drones by checking the attributes tab of that ship's info page, which do this on our own ship. And if you see drone bay and drone bandwidth listed, then you're good to go, it can use drones. If there is no drone bay or drone bandwidth listed, then that ship cannot use drones. Drone bays cannot be added to ships that don't have them, other than the extremely specialised Tech 3 strategic cruisers. Some ships have traits that give large bonuses to drone operation, especially the Gallente Federation and Guristas Pirate and Sisters of Eve factions. We can check these out on the ship tree. If you go to ship and ship tree, we'll click Gallente Federation. Mouse over this Tristan, gets 10% bonus to drone hit points and tracking speed. And the Algos gets drones, and the Vexor gets drone bonuses, and the Myrmidon gets drone bonuses, and the Dominix gets drone bonuses, so they have lots and lots of them. Guristas Pirates, every single one of their ships gets huge drone bonuses because they're extremely specialised in drones. On top of these, the Amar have a small handful of ships that have drone traits. Mimitar ships can use drones, but don't have any specialised drone ships, even though some of their ships can use quite a few drones. And the Caldari are the least drone-friendly major race, but they still use them in most of their ships. So, how many drones can you have? The number of drones any ship can use depends on a number of factors. The first factor is your skill level in the drone's skill itself, which gives you one drone per skill level up to a maximum of 5 at level 5. I'm not going to mention the ship that some of you may think I'm going to mention, so the maximum number of drones is 5. The next limiting factor is the bandwidth of the ship, which we previously mentioned. Each different type of drone uses a certain amount of bandwidth to operate. You can see this on the attributes tab of the drones themselves, so we'll just show info on this Hornet here. Scroll down, all the way down, bandwidth needed 5 megabits a second for this drone, and then we'll do the same with this. Scroll all the way down, this particular drone needs 10 megabits per second, and then we'll just do this on this big drone here. This drone needs 25 megabits per second. So a ship with a total bandwidth of 25 would only be able to fly one of these big heavy drones, or 2 mediums because they are 10 each, or 2 mediums and 1 light drone because that equals 25, or 5 light drones. Ship bandwidth is a fixed value and cannot be increased at all, again other than the extremely specialised Tech 3 strategic cruisers. The size of the ship's drone bay is also a limiting factor, as each type of drone takes up a different amount of space, which again you can see on the information page. The volume is the one we're looking for here, so this large Sentry Drone takes up 25 cubic meters each. This very small drone only takes up 5, and the mediums take 10. If we show info on this, yep, there we are, 10. Some ships have absolutely enormous drone bays. This Stratios, which we're sitting in here, if I remember, that has, 400 cubic meters of space for drones, but it only has 100 megabits, so it can use 4 large drones, but it can carry absolute swarms of drones. As we see here, we do have 38 drones in total on board this ship. We can only use 5 of them at any one time. Drone bay size is also a fixed value and cannot be increased other than the extremely specialised Tech 3 strategic cruisers. So how do you use drones? When you're in a station, you just open the drone bay like this, or you find the drone bay in the inventory tree right here, and you drag drones into there. You cannot do this in space unless you make use of a mobile depot, or you have a fleet member with a fleet enabled ship maintenance bay to let you drag things from cargo hold into the drone bay. So do make sure you put them in the correct bay, don't put them in cargo. Then in space, when you undock, you will see this drone window, which I haven't moved from its default position. It defaults to directly below the overview, so it's nice and easy to find. Drones can be organised into groups or folders by simply right-clicking the drone, selecting Move Drone, either into a new group or an existing group which you've already made. You can have as many or as few of these folders as you want. This just makes it easy to sort them out. I mean, as I said, we have 38 drones and 400 cubic meters. On smaller ships, you'll only be able to fit a couple of drones, so there's no point putting them in folders. Drones can also be dragged and dropped from existing folders into another one, so we can drag this drone here and it comes out of this folder and it's appeared in this one. Just put it back before I make a fatal error later on. To launch your drones into space, you can either right click the folder you want and select Launch Drones, or you can drag the folder into space, which automatically launches them into space. Here they are, they've populated here. There's also a shortcut, which is by default Shift F. But the problem is, when you have multiple folders, the game doesn't know which particular drones you want to launch with the Shift F hotkey. So what you can do, you can right click one of your folders and select Mark Group as Favourite for launching. And when you do that, you see it gets this icon here. It changes the icon so you can tell at a glance which one of your folders has been marked. And then once you've done that, you can use the Shift F default hotkey to launch that particular folder. So there's a few ways to launch your drones. Once they're in space, you can give them commands by right clicking in the Drones in Space section. We'll just get somewhere where we can use them.
Drive active.
Okay, let's do some practical testing. Once you're in an area where you want to use your drones and you've launched whichever folder you want, I think we'll try these ones in this site. You can give them commands by right clicking in Drones in Local Space. See here, engage target, return in orbit, return to drone bay, scoop to drone bay. Just target some things. There are also hotkeys you can use. F is the default all drones engage the selected target or perform your activity on the selected target hotkey. And the nice thing about drones is that they have some basic AI of their own, and they will select and engage their own targets after the first target you told them to attack has been destroyed. So we'll just keep an eye on them. There they go. They've changed red, so they're fighting something. I haven't told them to do that. They're just picking their own targets. They're taking some damage though. As you see, this is their health bar going down. So to return them to drone bay, you press Shift R. That is a hotkey to bring them back. And they'll fly back to the ship and dock. Nice and easy. There are some drone settings which you can change with this teeny tiny little icon up here. Passive means that they will not engage their own targets. Aggressive means they will engage your own targets. Focus fire is supposed to make all your drones perform their action on the same target. This has never worked properly ever since I've started playing EVE back in 2008. So focus fire is pretty much useless. Again, to return them to the drone bay, you can either use that hotkey or you can right click on the drones in space and get them to return. The difference between return to drone bay and scoop to drone bay, scooping only works if they're within 2,500 meters of the ship. Usually you use return to drone bay because that makes them fly back. And as we just saw, drones are actual physical objects and they can be targeted, attacked, damaged and destroyed by your enemies, so keep an eye on their health bars and bring them back when they get too damaged. Do remember that they do have travel time, so don't leave it too long to bring them back. And especially if you're fighting enemies which have stasis webifiers and they grab one of your drones, your poor little drone will be struggling to return to your ship and it might die before it comes back. So either keep a very good eye on them or carry spares if you have space in your drone bay, or do both of these things. Drones have a maximum control range at which they can be given these commands. This can be seen on the fitting screen if I just open it. Down here in the bottom right of the drones, this is the drone control range. We don't have any modules that extend the drone control range, this is just our base level of 60 kilometers. Drones cannot be given commands to attack anything which is outside of this range, and if your drones themselves end up outside this range, they can become unresponsive until you bring your ship back into range with them. If you lose contact with your drones, get back to within the range and right click the capacitor, and this option here, reconnect to lost drones, will re-establish control over any drones that are in the area, as long as they belong to you. You can't reconnect to someone else's drones, or if you find lost drones, you can't reconnect to them, you'll just have to scoop them up. Drone control range can be extended with skills and modules, which we'll get to later on in this guide. There's lots and lots of different types of drones, as I said. Now we know how to fill the drone bay, organise them and use them, we'll talk about the various types of drone. The most commonly used type of drones are the combat drones, which we've just used here. As the name suggests, and what you've seen with your eyeballs, these are damage dealing drones, effectively little mobile gun turrets, and as gun turrets they are subject to all the same tracking and hit quality rules that ship mounted turrets are. We covered this in a previous guide you'll find on this channel. Each race's drones do a different type of damage, so if you know the resistances of the enemy, you can pick the exactly correct type of damage. You can see that here. If we show info on these hobgoblins, these are Galenti drones, and these do thermal damage only. And these hornets are Caldari drones, so these do kinetic damage only. There are Mimitar drones that do explosive, and there's Amar ones that only do EM. So you can hit the enemy perfectly with the exact correct type of damage. It's quite easy to tell them all apart because of the different colour backgrounds to them. Galenti drones with green background do thermal, as we just saw. Caldari have blue background. Amar have yellow, and Mimitar have red. Now the difference between all these different types of drone, the large, medium and small, is that the small combat drones are faster in movement and have better tracking than medium drones, and medium drones have more speed and better tracking than the heavy drones. Medium drones do roughly twice the damage of light drones, and heavy drones do roughly twice the damage of medium drones. So that's the payoff. You either go for speed and tracking or raw damage, and again you're limited by your bandwidth. Sentry drones are a very special case. These cannot move and they're used as deployable static gun turrets. They have pretty poor tracking and do a little bit less raw damage than heavy drones in most cases, but they do have far superior range, and they don't have to travel between targets before applying damage. They just sit still where they are and plink away at things and instantly switch targets. Just don't abandon them and leave them on their own. As I said, they cannot move, so they can't return to drone bay. You have to remain on station and pick them back up yourself. There is another very special case, I don't have them loaded in this ship, which is the Gecko Super Heavy Drone. As you see from the market in this particular region, they're worth about 100 million each. These are a very special case, they're very large, they take up 50 cubic meters and 50 bandwidth each, but they do 32 hit points damage of all four. This isn't either or, this is all. They also have a huge number of hit points. If you use a Gecko in a ship which is bonused for drone hit points, and you fit a rig which adds even more hit points, then Geckos can actually have a tank which is similar to a player cruiser, believe it or not. And very similar to Geckos are these Subverted JVN UC-49s. These are essentially the medium drone version of Geckos. You see, it takes 20 cubic meters of space and 20 bandwidth, and much like the Geckos, these do 32 of all four damage types, but they have a lesser damage modifier than the Gecko does. These are very niche, they're very, very rare. As you can see, they're even more expensive than Geckos. These are only handed out during one event and it's never been repeated. Geckos have been handed out a few times. Again, there are no blueprints for either of these two drones. They are only ever given out as gifts from the developers. Different sizes of drone will attract aggression from different sizes of NPCs. Light drones tend to be ignored by most NPCs other than elite frigates and possibly any unaggressed and newly spawned enemies. We saw that in our small practical demonstration. Our drones were taking fire from enemies which were not yellow or red boxing our own ship. Medium drones attract fire from frigates, destroyers and cruisers. So even if these frigates, destroyers and cruisers are shooting at you, when you deploy medium drones, they may switch aggression from you to your drones. And everything likes to shoot at heavy drones, sentry drones and geckos. So you also need to consider that. You need to consider your speed of your drones, the tracking speed of their weapons, which damage type to do, how much damage to do, the bandwidth requirements, and which NPCs are going to shoot them when you're deciding which folder you want to deploy or which drones you want to load into your ship in the first place. Let's talk about the differences between Tech 1, Tech 2 and faction variants of drones. Tech 1 drones don't need very many skills, as we see. Drones 1, Light Drone Operation 1, that's it. Because Drones 1 is listed twice because it's a prerequisite for Light Drone Operation 1. So it makes it look as if it needs 3 skills. It doesn't, it only needs 2. And I think most characters begin with these already pre-trained, so you can start using drones as soon as you start the game. Tech 2 drones have much more training requirements. These need drones level 5 and Light Drone Operation 5, and then Caldari Drone Specialization 1 for these Hornets. Other ones will have different racial specialization skills. So Tech 2 need a lot more training, but they do have better speed, more hit points, better tracking, more damage. They're just better than Tech 1 in every respect. And these various racial drone specialization skills will give them extra bonuses over and above the other skills, because Light Drone Operation will also improve your Tech 1 drones. Tech 1s don't benefit from this skill, only Tech 2 do. Now, there are other variations, which are the faction drones, which is Caldari Navy Hornet. See, these only need drones 2 and Light Drone Operation 1, so they don't need anywhere near the training of Tech 2 drones. And when we have a look at the stats and compare them all, they only deal very slightly less raw damage than Tech 2, but they are faster, they have better tracking, they have way more hit points, and as we've seen, they need much less training. So unless you really need the extra damage that Tech 2 drones provide, I strongly suggest using faction drones. And of course, remember that cost is a thing. So Tech 2 Hornets cost about 400,000 in this particular region at this particular moment of time, and Caldari Navy are 4 million each. So there's the difference. Because they're almost better than Tech 2, they're worth a lot more, so do remember the cost of things. There are even more expensive integrated and augmented drones, which we see here, especially the augmented. They can deal more than one type of damage, which may or may not be a good thing, depending on the enemy resistances. We'll have a look at the integrated drone, scroll all the way to the bottom. See, this does kinetic and thermal, but if you are fighting someone who's weakest to kinetic, you may want to use the purely kinetic drones instead of these. And the augmenteds do even more. They've got a much higher damage modifier, as well as just using drones for combat. There's lots of other drones available as well. Salvage drones, which we see here, fly from wreck to wreck and salvage them, returning all the special salvage materials to your cargo bay automatically. They do not pick up loot, only salvage. You'll need some other way of grabbing the loot from the wrecks. Now their AI is a little bit janky, so we'll show that here. We'll just target one wreck and we'll spit out our salvage drones by dragging and dropping, and we'll press F and they will go and do their task on this target. They take a little while. They're not as good as a proper salvaging module, but they get the job done. They've done it, they've come back, they've deposited the specialized material, and now they've all gone idle because they haven't automatically targeted the next wreck. This is where the jankiness comes in. What you can do, if you don't have any wreck targeted, you put out your salvage drones, you press F, then by the powers of game coding, then they will automatically target all the wrecks and they will clear this entire field of wrecks on their own. I'm not quite sure why it works like that, but it does. So unless you really want them to salvage specific wrecks like a Tech 2 Elite wreck or something, don't target anything before sending them on their way. There are also mining drones, which again do exactly what you would think they would do. These are only light drones, they only take up 5 volume and 5 megabits. They only harvest ores, they do not mine gas. They fly to the targeted asteroid in an asteroid belt. They mine it until their small internal cargo space is full, and they fly back to your ship and deposit it in your cargo bay, or if you have a specialised ore bay, they'll drop it there. Now they are quite slow, so you may want to sit your ship close to the rocks where they're mining to cut down their travel time, which will obviously increase your yield per minute because they're spending more time mining and less time flying around. Again, there are faction variants of these, which is the augmented and harvester drones. As you can see from the price, these are much better than even Tech 2 mining drones, but these are seriously expensive and they will make you a gank target. People will kill your ship, the drones will go inactive, and then they will pick up the drones. There are drones for ice, which is the ice harvesting drone. These ones are really large, 50 volume, 50 megabits a second. Most of the smaller mining ships can't use them at all, simply because they're too big to fit in the drone bay and you don't have enough bandwidth to use them, even if you could jam them in. Logistics drones are also a thing. These are drones which can repair things. There's all manner of them. They come in all different sizes, but it essentially boils down to fixing shields, fixing armor, or fixing hull. Now these cannot fix your own ship because you cannot target yourself, so you can't give them the command to fix your ship. As with the combat drones, the smaller ones are faster and the larger ones are slower, but repair more hit points per second. You can use these to fix up your other drones if they get damaged. Simply target lock your drone and then tell the logistics drones to repair it. Drones automatically repair their own shields just like ships do, so if you're going to use repair drones to fix up your other drones, you will only need armor and hull drones. There's also electronic warfare drones, and I'm not quite sure why the combat utility drones thing exists. I think these should all be in electronic warfare. These E-War and combat utility drones do lots of different things. They do tracking disruption, target painting, sensor dampening, ECM jamming, webbing, energy neutralizing, pretty much every type of E-War that exists in the game. Now here's a little warning about the webifying drones. They themselves are rather slow. As we see, the maximum velocity 2,400 meters a second. If you've been watching these videos, you'll know that most cruisers can go faster than that, and most frigates can go up to about 3 times faster than that. So they may not even be able to catch up with a fast target to apply their webs. Their webifiers are really weak. See, this is the effect they have. They reduce the target's velocity by 5%. And a webifier module on your ship will reduce it by at least 60%, 60. So even though you've got 5 of these, it's still only minus 25. Well, it would be minus 25, but for the fact that your webbing drones have this stacking penalty, making their already poor performance even worse. So in short, webbing drones are absolutely bloody awful, especially for solo play. They can be effective in very large numbers in fleet actions, but for solo they're useless. The ECM drones can be pretty good. The most common one you will see is the Hornet EC300. It's because they're a light drone, they take up the least space, so people will carry them on board, just so they have them for emergencies. What these do, these break the target lock of the enemy and force the enemy to only be able to lock the drone and not you, so you can use them to escape. If you have a look at their jammer strength though, they have a jam strength of 1, which is really weak. Now it may be weak, but as ECM jamming is chance based, eventually they will land a jam, making the enemy lose lock on you, releasing you from their warp jamming modules and letting you escape. But you can't really rely on this because it is chance based and their ECM jamming is weak, but they can get you out of tricky situations. One thing we're not going to cover in this are fighters, because fighters are extremely specialised things. They use entirely different mechanics and they have their own UI for controlling them. These operate in squadrons and you can have dozens of fighters in space at the same time. They're serious tools, they only fit on capital ships and structures and are way outside the scope of this guide. So that's all I'm going to say about fighters. Okay, we've talked about how to use drones, we've used combat drones and salvage drones who have now finished, so we'll bring them back to bay. Okay, time to talk about skills and modules to increase the performance of your drones. So as previously mentioned, the drone's skill itself determines how many drones you can have in space at one time, but as well as doing this, it also unlocks many of the other drone skills as you progress up through the levels. We'll show info on the skill. At level 1, it unlocks drone avionics and light drone operation. Drone avionics extends your maximum drone control range by 5,000 meters per skill level, and light drone operation increases damage of your light drones. Drones level 2 doesn't unlock any more skills, but it does unlock use of some of the faction and specialised variants of the drones, and some drone equipment as well. Level 3 unlocks medium drone operation, which lets you use medium drones. Level 4 unlocks drone navigation, which makes your drones faster, and drone durability, which makes your drones more durable and have more hit points. That's shield, armour and hull, all three of them, and lets you use salvage drones, and drones 5 unlocks all this stuff here. Repair drone operation, which lets you use the repair drones. Heavy drone operation, drone interfacing, which increases the damage of your drones. And all the various specialisation skills for each race, which increases the damage of Tech 2 drones. Advanced drone avionics, which adds another 3,000 meters to the drone control range per skill level. Drone sharpshooting, which increases the optimal range and fall-off range of your drones. Not listed here, but it does also unlock the Sentry Drones as well. So Drones 5 is one of the first level 5 skills that most players will do for all of the reasons given above. At maximum skills, the base drone control range will be 60 kilometers as we saw on our ship. This can be further extended with quite a few modules. Go to ship equipment and drone upgrades. It's the one, the Drone Link Augmenter 1. It's a high slot, so if you're a gunboat, you may have to sacrifice a turret to fit this, but this adds 20 kilometers of drone control range. The Tech 2 version adds 24, and there are many other versions. On these ones here, they're extremely expensive. Even the Black Eagle one is extremely expensive, but each one will add increasingly longer distance to your drone control range. The drone damage amplifier does exactly what it says on the tin. It adds a decent amount of damage to your drones. Now it's only for combat drones, this only adds damage, it doesn't add mining yield or ice harvesting yield to your drone. The drone navigation computer fits in a medium power slot. It's passive and it just boosts the maximum speed of your drones. This can actually help mining drones cut down their travel time, increasing their yield per minute. As you can imagine, it's pretty useless for sentry drones because they don't move. It's good for combat drones because it speeds them up going from target to target. There's the omnidirectional tracking enhancer. This is a low slot module. It is passive, it boosts your drone's weapon tracking speeds and maximum weapon range. It's good for all combat drones, but especially good for sentry drones because they need all the tracking and range they can get because they can't move. The omnidirectional tracking link is very similar, but it fits on mid slot and it's active, which means it requires capacitor to use, and it provides all the same bonuses as the enhancer, but only more of them. This can be further specialised by fitting scripts. Scripts double the bonus of one attribute and remove the bonus of all the others. So here you click the use with, there are two scripts to pick from, the tracking speed script and the optimal range script. The tracking speed script will double this tracking speed bonus to 20 and it will remove the optimal range and fall off bonuses. And likewise the optimal range script will double the optimal range and fall off bonuses and it will remove the tracking speed bonus. Scripts are not consumed, they can be switched out in space as you wish, so they're really good for specialising your modules. Drones also have some really useful rigs, which we can find in the shipping module, and then rigs, and then drone rigs. The drone control range augmenter increases the ship's drone control range, but reduces the ship's CPU. Durability enhancer increases your drone's shield, armor and structure, but again reduces the ship's total CPU. Drone mining augmenter is the only thing you can use to boost the yield of your mining drones, and again it harms the ship's CPU. The drone repair augmenter does what it says on the tin, increases the amount that your repair bots repair, but again it cuts the ship's CPU. The drone scope chip increases the drone's optimal range, again slashes the ship's CPU. The drone speed augmenter, very much like the navigation computer, speeds up the travel time of your drones, and again cuts the CPU of the ship. And the sentry damage augmenter, can anyone guess what this does? That's right, it increases the damage of sentry drones only. And there is a stasis drone augmenter, which increases the web power of your terrible web drones. Even if you fit this rig, they're still terrible. These rigs come in Tech 1 and Tech 2 versions. So that pretty much brings us to the end of this guide to drones. They're extremely useful things to have, and any ship that can fit drones probably should fit drones. Not only can they add raw firepower to your ship, or even be the main source of your damage on certain ships, they can mine, they can salvage, they can repair things, and they can perform E-war. There's a drone for every occasion. Hope you found this little guide somewhat useful, and I hope to see you again for the next one. Until then, take very good care of yourself. See you later.